Hello, everyone, and welcome to the final episode of the Compelling Conversations podcast for 2022. Today, I'm really excited to be joined by Nicole. Nicole,
Hey
thanks so
guys,
much for being here.
thank you for
Yeah,
having me. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
yeah, same here. I wanted to begin, Nicole, by saying that you have like another name. Could you please share that name and what it means?
Oh, we talked about this before. Like my Chinese name, is Mei Jian, and it's just a name that my grandparents gave me when I was born, and it just means like beautiful pearl. Like Mei is beautiful, and then Jian is like a pearl.
Yeah, that's real cool. I'm
Yeah,
curious, is Nicole and Mei Jun, are they like the same person, do you think? Or are they different people?
yeah, more or less. Mei Jian. I feel like my parents only call me that if I'm like in trouble. Like the
Is that
only like
right?
fully say it. Yeah. Or like
Wow.
when I was doing a lot of like the pageant stuff, because it was like obviously a Chinese pageant. We have to use like our Chinese names. But other than that, yeah, same person.
Yeah, that's
But most of
interesting.
my family calls me Nicole.
Going back to that pageant thing, being Miss Chinatown, you
Uh-huh.
became Miss Chinatown Houston.
Sure, yeah.
What does being Miss Chinatown mean to you?
Ooh, that's a good one. I feel like growing up, Miss Chinatown, especially for younger Asian girls in the community, it's like, oh, she's like this like epitome of like beauty and grace, and like she's super smart, and it's kind of crazy because like I guess in when I was like going through it, training for it and everything, I never even like saw myself as that person. And it's like kind of crazy when you get onto the other side, people look at you so differently. Like I was like talking to my mom about this, right? Like whenever I do appearances and stuff, people want to take pictures of me, and like yeah, they just like, oh my gosh, they just think you're like little kids will be like, when they take pictures, they think you're a princess, they think you're so smart and pretty. And then like you go like outside regular day, like out in the street, no makeup on, people just like don't care who you are. And you're just like, oh, like this is how I feel. Like it's like a double life.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
interesting. Do you ever get sickened by the attention that comes your way?
Sickened? Hmm. Not really sickened. I think more so for me, it's just about having fun with it. And I think that it's like an experience that not you don't get to experience for a long time, right? Because like the next year, then it's like a new girl, and it goes on and on and on. And I think for the time that you have the title, you might as well just like relish in it, enjoy it as much as you can, and um, yeah, just have fun with it, enjoy
Yeah.
the time. But no, I don't really get sickened by like people coming up or nothing like that. I'm not like a full like it's not like real celebrity or nothing like that. It's just like a just something fun, I guess.
When you were saying like some people like they don't give you the attention in your regular ordinary life, do you enjoy that or how do you view that?
I just think it's funny because it's like you could be the same person and like one day nobody cares who you are, and like the next people, right? It's like a status thing, like when you have the crown on, you have the sash, you're suddenly somebody different, and but really you're just the same person. And it's just so weird, like seeing the contrast, how people treat you, when they think that you have like this title, this like big achievement. They want to be your friend, they want to invite you out to places, they want to take pictures and everything, and then oh, you take everything off and it's just like, oh, you're just normal, like you're just regular.
Wow. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
really cool that you say that. I had an uncle from New Jersey. He came down to visit and he was telling me, things like he was proud of me for the things that I've done. And it was very kind of him to say that. And but I told him like, I'm just the same person. I'm just the same person. Although it might appear like something amazing has been done or happened, I'm me, and that's just what it is.
Do you ever feel that way? Like, I guess, like, because you're an author, and like you release like novels and everything like that. And whenever like you release these novels, do you ever like feel like oh, like I'm doing something great, or is it more like you're doing this just for fun and then like you kind of relish it like the accomplishments afterwards? Like, oh, like you look back like, oh, I did that, like I did something great, or like when you're doing it, you're like, oh, I'm in the midst of doing something great.
Um, I don't know what words I'd use to answer that, you know? It's an interesting question. Yeah. I think that like with my first book, it was just something that I think in both instances, it's just if I'm true to myself, then that's good enough for me. It's not so much like if it's perceived as great or not. It's like, wow, like was I true to myself in that? And if I was, that's good enough for me. I think that's what I'd say
Yeah,
about that. Yeah. Did
because I
you
guess.
think? Yeah, go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry. Go ahead.
No, no, you can say whatever you were gonna
Oh,
say.
because I was gonna say like I don't think anybody really like thinks like you're in the moment of like doing something great. Like, like even when we're like with school and we're studying organic chemistry, 'cause I think like doing well in the class, it's like a great accomplishment. But like while we're studying, we're like, oh, we're not like doing something amazing or like groundbreaking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is a good point. You never know what's gonna end up happening with what you do, huh?
Yeah.
Did you ever think that being Miss Chinatown could save you?
Save me. I didn't really think of it like anything like that. Like I didn't really have that kind of mindset going in, like, oh, I have to win. Like, I didn't really even think like that. It's just more like, oh, I have nothing to do this spring break. Why not just sign up? Oh, I'm going through heartbreak. Why not I just go do something fun for once? And then I was like, oh, this is something I always wanted to do. So why not like give it give it a shot, make some friends, meet some new people, and just have a new experience. I think that was just my mindset going in. So yeah, I didn't really think I was like, oh, this is gonna save my life.
Yeah. One of the things that I thought when I was writing my first book was like, perhaps it could save me from something. And that once I
Okay.
did it, I realized that I don't know, I'm not certain if it saved me, but it revealed a lot of things to me about myself and the people that I know and the world around me. What did being Miss Chinatown reveal to you about yourself?
Ooh, that's a good question. About myself, I think just how much like strength I had because there was definitely times where I felt like, what, I think back then, or not even back then, even now sometimes I struggle like when things get really hard. I'm just like, oh, like if I just ignore it, it'll go away. Like if I just give up, it'll go away, kind of thing. And then like during the pageant, right? Like I had a relative, really close relative of mine, like pass away, like right, like days before the pageant, and it was like all this training, all this hard work. To me, it was just like all I didn't care for it anymore. Like I was just like, I don't even want to do it. Like somebody who's this important to me just passed away. I don't see like at that point you just don't even see what's the point of like doing anything. But then like I think like the person who passed away, I think that's what she want like what she would have wanted for me to do is just stick it through and you know complete it and just get over with and like just do something for myself for once. Like even though it's hard, just keep pushing through. And I think like even the pageant, like while it was like happening, was so like shotgun, like everything was like boom, 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 boom. That like it was just like something that and like even to stand on stage, basically half naked in your bikini and just like walk down in front of all these people and like have people like quite literally judge you off your appearance and like you just still have to like do it. I think it just showed like I could do this and like not really care about what other people think and just only do it for myself. And even though it's hard, like I could just do it and get it over with. And I think that was like the biggest thing like it taught me.
You've mentioned appearance sometimes now, and I'm curious, what does appearance mean to you?
Honestly, people say like, oh, like you shouldn't care what people think and like all this stuff like that. But I think not even with pageantry, just in life in general, your appearance, when you people say, oh, I only care about people's personality. Well, like yes, personality is important, but you're not gonna look at somebody off the street and be like, oh, they that you don't know, like they have a great personality. If they're just not talking, like you only have know somebody face value the first 30 seconds that you see them, right? And like that 30 seconds can make the hugest difference. Like you walk into an interview, you sit down. At that point, they already know if you're considered for the job or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
point. First
Appearances,
impressions,
yeah.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
important. You know, how you show yourself off, how you portray yourself visually can like tell a lot about a person. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's like my little take on it. What about you?
What about me?
Like, do you care more so about like appearances, or are you more like, oh, like I'm more personality kind of person?
I think both are real important, you know. I like to say that I've been on all ends of the spectrums when it comes to like fitness and fashion. Like I've been real skinny, I've been real fat, and I've been fit in the middle. And then, you
Hmm.
know, I've dressed like a pauper, and then I've dressed like a prince, and then I've dressed in the middle as well. And it really makes a difference. Like if you're fit and if you dress right, people treat you differently as opposed to if you aren't. And if you are, and it's like I am the same person, but you're
Yeah,
right. Like they're not gonna like look at you and be like, what is this person's personality? They're just gonna see
yeah.
what they see and make their judgment according to that. So
When do you feel like you were like the most happiest? Like when you were like skinnier, fatter, like Prince or Popper vibes? Like when do you feel like, oh, okay, I'm happy here?
there was Zayn, he had an interview one time where he's like, I don't know what it is, but I feel like just whatever I wear, I have to make it look cool. When I had
Yeah,
heard that, I was like, whoa. And so there's like a year in my life where like every single day I was making sure every single thing I wore was like on point and that I was like fit. And that entire year was a great time because it felt like I felt so fresh every day of my life because I was
yeah,
dressing up and I was staying fit. So I'd say like that was the time, you know? It
okay.
felt optimal in that
Yeah,
case.
yeah. But kind
Yeah.
of like how you feel now. Like we've had this conversation before, like when you dress up like smart to class, you feel like smarter or like
Y-
ready to learn kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The button ups and stuff, you feel like you're focused, you're in the game. But
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
show up
yeah.
in your pajamas, you know, you might not feel so inclined to do the work.
Yeah. You feel like
Yeah.
lazier, I guess.
Yeah. What do you think? Where does your confidence come from?
My confidence? Ooh, that's a good question. Because I feel like some days I don't even like I don't even want to talk to anybody. You don't even want to like look somebody in the eye kind of thing or wherever. I think like confidence just comes from like just time. I'm not the most confident person in the world, but I think as you get older, you kind of feel more comfortable in your own skin. You kind of feel more comfortable talking to other people because you kind of I think all the interactions that in your life just accumulate and you can sort of almost like read people or you feel comfortable talking about certain subjects with certain people and you kind of I don't know, you get better at reading the room, which I guess in turn gives you more confidence.
Yeah.
Does that
So
make
reading
sense?
the room gives you the confidence, you think, with time, huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think just developing like that emotional intelligence, right? It kind of gives you more confidence.
Wow.
Yeah, I
You
think because
know,
like when you're like you're what, you're like sophomore or freshman?
no, I'm a senior.
Oh, you're a senior. Okay, but
Yeah.
when you were like a freshman, do you just like remember like walking into college and you just like you don't even know what's going on? You don't really know what to say or like talk. You don't want to like talk to anybody because you actually just have like no clue about college in general. You just like, oh, I'm gonna like stay in my shell. I don't want to like talk to anybody. But now that we're like seniors, you know, you're just like, hey man, like let's just learn some organic chemistry. Let's just be friends. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. Yeah. It just kind of like do you think it's something in your personality? Do you
I
think
don't
it's
know.
intrinsic for you?
I don't know. I mean, maybe certain people. I know like my parents, they're very like extroverted people. And especially my dad, he knows how to like speak with people. And I think when you grow up, he's just a people person. So like watching him, how he kind of interacts with people, like how he talks, I guess little things you kind of pick up over time. Even my mom, you know, she's always worked in like customer service jobs. So she's knows how to like speak with people. And I think picking things like that up when I was really young made me feel more comfortable when I was speaking to other people as I grew up.
Mm.
So yeah, what about you? You're like super. I feel like you're one of those people that like is super easy to talk to, or like you make people feel really comfortable. So like, where do you think that comes from?
Well, thank you. I take that as a compliment. Appreciate that. I think I have to say, honestly, I think it's a part of my personality, like something intrinsic. But also, I think I care to have an interest in other people. I don't know the minds of everyone else, but I feel like people aren't so invested in other people. They don't really care about another person's story or experience or perspective. And I think that's something that I've like tried to give more attention to. Like, who are you? What are you about? What really matters to you? That type of a thing. So I think something like that. Yeah. Empathy in a way.
Okay. So you feel like that innately, like you think like, because you feel like you said like other people don't really like care about like what's going on in other people's life, and like that's probably true. Like so like what do you think like makes you like feel that way? Is it just like you just feel that way innately?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. Just innately. It's just something intrinsic. Yeah.
Yeah,
For me. For me.
that's pretty cool though. Yeah, I don't think I know many people like that, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. I appreciate that. Do you ever feel good enough? Can a
Good
person
enough?
ever
I don't
feel good
think
enough?
anybody really feels good enough, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think anybody wakes up and they're like, I'm satisfied with this. I think there's always something that you can improve on, right? So I don't think anybody really feels like good enough. I mean, like, sure, you go to sleep and you're like, oh, I did good today, or I did well on this test, or I studied well, or I was at gym, I did the workout I wanted to do, or, I'm happy with the money I made at work today, or whatever. But I don't think that, like, I think to be good, good enough is just like, it's like synonymous with being just like satisfied with everything, right? And I just don't think that it's like human nature to be satisfied with like anything.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe some people might be satisfied and they might be good enough. That's just me. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that perspective. It's meaningful to hear that, it's like perhaps we can never feel good enough, and that's just how life is, eh?
I feel like that's just human nature, right? We're
Yeah.
very like we have a evolutionary mindset, right? That's just human nature to want to evolve and become better. So I think like being good enough, I guess in my definition, I just don't think humans just have that mindset where like, oh, this is good enough, whatever. I mean, maybe they do, and they just slop kebab and just like sit at home, whatever. But they're happy with it. But I think that
Yeah.
somebody like people with like a type A kind of mentality, or I don't know, they just want to get stuff done. I don't think you'll be like ever really satisfied with feeling like good enough.
What does hibby
I guess
jibbies
you should
mean?
always want to work harder,
Yeah.
huh?
What does hibby
What
jibbies mean?
ibby? What is ibby jibbies?
Hibby jibbies. You said that one time.
Oh, heebie jeebies,
What is
like
that?
creeped out.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
heebie jeebies. That you never heard of that? It's like when you're like weird feeling like creeped out.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of that until you
Yeah,
said
that's
it.
like
So I thought it was just so funny. I was curious to ask.
really. I feel like that's like
Yeah.
common.
Yeah, I've never heard it, but it's
Yeah,
so
I feel
funny.
like maybe it's like old
Yeah.
people language because like I like only talk to my parents, so like they'll be like heebie-jeebies, and I'll be like, yeah, okay. And then you just indoctrinate that into like your own vocabulary. So,
Yeah. What do you think destiny demands from you?
oh, that's so crazy. I don't think like destiny is like necessarily like thing really. I think that you have multiple like pathways in life that you can choose. It's the choices you make, right? Because you can be destined to have like a great, life be like this, like have this like victorious like lifestyle and like all these things, and then you could be destined to have like a complete like failure of a life, just just a complete failure, right? Like I think destiny is like what you make of it. So I think for myself, obviously I want to like just live a lifestyle that I'm proud of and that I made my family proud, and one that yeah, I think I'm the kind of person I just like live for, not necessarily like the approval, like my own self approval is definitely just like I want to make put my parents especially, or like my siblings or my grandmother like in a position where they're just comfortable and like where they feel good enough, right? Like I don't have to feel, I'll never feel good enough, right? But it's just like if I can make like my family feel good enough where they're like, happy, complacent, like not complacent, but just like happy and not have to worry about certain things like financially, or if somebody gets sick, we don't have like this like strain or worry about like what's gonna happen. I think that's like good enough for me. Or like that that's what, like what you say, like good enough. That would be like enough for me, I think.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. I
so
don't
what
think
do you
that
think your
anybody has
destiny
like this
is?
like destiny. I think just living like a life of like service, service to others for sure.
Why is that
Just
important
like
to you?
making, I think life, because I don't think that like you can necessarily be happy with a life that's all about you. I think life is just about sharing your experience with others. And like you're not here on this world to just like only make yourself happy. Like you're not the only being in this whole planet Earth. Like you're put here. Like my mom always like said like, oh, like you should always make somebody happy. Like once a day, like you should always like make somebody else happy. Do like what you can for others. And I think like that's like the whole meaning of life. We're all sharing like this. Basically, we're all sharing like a life, this world. We all live in the same like timeline, the same like area, the same thing. We're all a part of this like web, basically. So why not like there's just like you can't like live a life only for yourself, or else you just be like lonely and like weirdo and like a loner.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good point. Do you ever feel
But
like
yeah,
an
now I'm like curious,
outcast?
what do other people say? Like I want to know. So like other people like Dan's like, my destiny is to be great, or like something like crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, one thing that there's this show, it's called The Last Kingdom, and it's set in like, during the time of like Anglo-Saxon and Viking wars. And the character, he
Yeah.
has an interesting line in there. He says, "Perhaps it is my destiny to always wander and to never arrive." When he said that, I really resonated with that, where it's like, we're always looking for something, but whatever we're
Yeah.
looking for, what if we never arrive there? Do you feel like you're
Mhm.
always looking for something? Do you feel like you've arrived?
Arrived. Like I think that it's. I don't think I necessarily like wander. I think more. It's more like when I'm there, I try to live fully in the moment, or like just really relish and take everything in, and like it's kind of like if I can like explain it in terms of like education, right? When you're sitting in class, you're not sitting there to just like get the ideas by, like you're sitting there to fully comprehend like the subjects at hand, right? You want to understand everything the best to your abilities. And that's kind of like life, right? You don't want to like get somewhere and just breeze by and like, oh, I experienced this, like whatever, but you're not like really relishing in the moment. You're not taking it in and like really thinking like, oh, okay, like this is it. This is like the only like one time like this will happen or whatever. Like this one moment in time will never come again, kind of thing. And I feel like if you're
Yeah.
just like wandering and you like haven't arrived, not fully comprehending what's going on.
Mm. Yeah.
But I can totally
What,
understand like that
yeah.
mindset, I guess.
What you said made me think about something. Do you ever
Hmm.
feel like an imposter?
An imposter? Hmm. I don't think I necessarily feel like an imposter, because like an imposter like implies like you're not like that, like something other than yourself, I guess. Like I think, oh, okay. How about this? It's more so like every day you have to like reinvent yourself, right? And I think maybe in that sense, you kind of have to like almost trick yourself and then be an imposter to yourself. Like this isn't me anymore, kind of thing. If you want
Mm.
to like I guess not like level up because that sounds like corny, but like I guess do better and like for yourself, right? Because like
Yeah.
okay, even with like your whole medical school route, right? You didn't like wake up one day, like let's say like when you were younger, like you didn't wake up one day and like, oh like this is me, like I'm like this super studious smart guy and I'm gonna freaking go all the way and be like this like doctor. Like you didn't wake up one day and like think that like you were just like a kid at one time. And then over time you have to tell yourself like, okay, I'm smart, so I'm gonna study. You know, like but I don't think like if somebody's not like forcing you or you're not like telling yourself to do that, like and like tricking yourself, not tricking, but like how do I say this? I guess you have to yeah, it's like almost being an imposter, right? You have to tell yourself that you're this person to become that person. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That's a really good perspective.
I
You
guess
gotta trick yourself. Yeah.
I guess maybe I'm always an imposter, right? If you're like always an imposter.
Yeah. Yeah, that's an interesting response. I never looked at it that way. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. You said something one time that I thought was pretty interesting, and I'm curious if you could dissect it.
sure.
You said, if you have broken the bridge and you're still here, that's worse than death to me. What does that mean?
Oh yeah, so I think like the topic was kind of like I think I asked y'all like or somebody the topic came up of like friendships, right? Or relationships in general. And then we're kind of just talking about like death and like all these kind of like topics. And then I was like, what I explained was like, if somebody passes away, right, you can accept that. Like, I accepted that you have like crossed the path or like, and there's no like coming back. And whatever happened in the time that you were here, it happened. And you have to accept it at that point because they're gone. But then, like, if, let's say you're like relationships, right? And then suddenly, like, y'all don't talk anymore, or like, the relationship has ended and like you guys no longer talk or whatever like at that point it's like even worse than death because it's like you're actively killing that person every single day and there's like things you can do yet you actively choose that there's nothing like to do about it because that you can't do about it because you know even though they're still here like they're dead to you basically so that's like even worse than someone who actually passes. That I don't know. That's my perspective. That might not even make sense, but that's just how I think about it.
Yeah. When you said that, I thought that's just such an interesting thing. It's like, whoa, it's like one of those moments where it's like, wow, I gotta write that one down. That's pretty deep.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think
I like
that
that one. That was cool because it's kind of like about like moving on and stuff. And it's like, whoa, it's, yeah, I don't know. Whatever you just said, it's like, that's profound.
profound. I don't know about profound, but I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah.
But yeah,
With,
I
yeah,
think that like cutting off people or whatever like whatever relationships you choose to sever, I think in the end it's just a bit more heartbreaking than death in general, right? Because it's like they're not dead, but there's things you can do yet they're it's like so close yet so far away kind of thing, which is
yeah,
like more heartbreaking than somebody who's passed on, which I guess I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
yeah. It's interesting that since the pandemic, I've had like an infatuation with finality. And it's like, if the ties aren't cut, I cut the ties. And it's something
Really,
that
what?
I've been thinking about. Yeah, I don't know what
Yeah.
it is, but like that quote that you have, it's something I think about. It's like, wow, like why is that? Why is it that I remove myself from people? I'm not entirely certain, but it's just something I wanted to share.
Mhm. No, yeah, for sure. I think the pandemic in general just sparked a lot of like, it just kind of makes you realize, okay, what's important to me right now? Who's important to me right now? Who am I gonna be friends with in 10 years? What am I gonna be doing in 10 years? Or am I gonna be here in 10 years? You know? So yeah,
Yeah.
I think
It's
it's a valid thing.
yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that because it's like people are destiny. I mentioned that to you once, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
there's so many people I've met this year, and it's like, wow, what would have happened if I never crossed paths or if we never had those conversations?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something for me to think about. And I'm curious, now that we're at the tail end of the year, do you
Mm-hmm.
what's been like the best part of the year for you? What did it do to transform you?
The best part of the year, I think just like prioritizing my health. I think during like, especially coming into college, you're just so focused on doing well and studying super hard. And I mean, I still study super hard. Like, we go days where we study from like, I literally slept in the library for like 2 days, like during finals. So we go like hours on end. And I think just like this year, you know, realizing, okay, maybe I'm not as strong as I used to be when I was like, when you're like super young and you don't get sick as like fast and stuff. But I think just prioritizing my health more mentally, physically, acknowledging that maybe I'm not like the strongest mentally, taking a break when I like needed a break and not, you know, gunning through things when I couldn't handle it anymore and just like I think just, distinguishing and establishing the relationships between what I can and can't do, my limits, was probably like the best part of my year. I think just growing up, right? Having the time to grow up because some people don't even get to experience this like time. So I think that was like the best part.
I like that. That's cool. When things
Yeah.
don't go your way, what do you
Hmm.
do?
Dude, I used to have like a mental breakdown when things don't go my way. Like, but now I think everything can go the way if you like make it to be, right? Unless you're getting like a speeding ticket. But then again, it's like if you don't want a speeding ticket, go slow down. But I think that if you really, really want something, there's nothing like you can't do to like stop that. I mean, like you can really like honestly achieve anything if you work super, super hard and like put in the work for it. So I think now if like something doesn't go my way, it's more so like, okay, what can I change to do like make it come true? What do I have to do? What kind of like work do I have to put in? So like I think now that I'm getting older, I'm like, okay, like this is you can't have like that mindset of like has happened now. Like it will happen just in time.
Yeah. There's a quote by the guy that I was named after. He says something along the lines of, um, if it is like mine's by destiny, it will never miss me. And if it was
Yeah.
never mine's by destiny, then it'll never reach me type thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, yeah. Definitely agree with that. Yeah.
Um,
There's nothing like you achieve if you don't work hard. That's it.
yeah. I'm curious, Nicole, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say we didn't get a chance to? Or something on your mind that you wanted to
No
express?
closing thoughts. No, no closing thoughts. I'm just like, when I get old, because I want to watch this when I'm like 40 or 50 and like, did I accomplish everything I wanted? Or like, was I like just weird and like cringe back then? So, I guess like maybe to my older self, like, did we accomplish everything that we wanted? Are we happier? Like, what's family life like? Do we all live together? I don't know. Like, I would want to just ask my future self questions. That's like my only closing thoughts. Are we still friends with Omer? What happened to Omer? you know?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that. I appreciate the perspectives that you brought. It was good stuff. And I just had one closing thought, as this is the last episode of the year. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman philosopher, he talks about how like everything's already happened, right? People are
Yeah.
born, people die, people are growing up from their youth, and then they're growing older when they're adults. People attend parties, they get married, they have kids, all that stuff. It's already happened, and it's gonna keep on happening. Just like the
Mhm.
time might change, and yeah, everything's already happened. So I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Intentions are always changing, and it's been a good season for the podcast. So thanks again, Nicole, for being my final guest of the year.
It's been a pleasure, Omer. I wish you the best of luck with your podcast. Happy to be here. Yeah, just it's been a good year, and we'll have good next year, I think. No, we will.
All right. Well, good
All
seeing
right,
you,
bye,
Nicole.
bye,
Take
podcast.
care.